All right. Well, you guys hopefully are almost through at lesson 4. And lesson 4 basically had you assemble your app that you guys designed using design mode inside your program. All right. So in lesson 6, we're going to be focusing more so on what's called code mode. Now, if I switch over to section 3 in lesson 6, you will see up here in the upper left corner you see the different modes you can have. These are hidden from you at this point because you're just working design. So for this lesson, you'll be working on the code mode. Now, if it's not already done, I want you to pay attention to how the screen looks in the middle with these purple bubbles. Make sure over here that this does not say show blocks. This means we're in text mode. So if it's in text mode, click on show blocks. So we are actually in block mode. That's going to be the preferred mode to work on. All right, now each step inside of lesson 6 are going to have you do a couple things here. So up at the top, it's always going to have a do this item. Okay, now what it's going to ask you to do is basically run the program to see what it does. And that's what you need to do in this lesson. It's all about taking time to observe how the program works. So work together because the more eyes you have makes different observations, and that's really important. And this is the whole point of the lesson. Each step also has a discuss item. And it's basically like in this question, why do you think some information is in quotes and some is not? So this is things that you guys are going to do, take some time and observe. Now, what I did is I shared a document with you. It's a Unit 3, Lesson 6 activity guide. And for each section, that's where I want you guys to put your answer. Now, you'll each have your own document, but some of you are working together, your answers will be similar, obviously, and that's okay. There's also a modify item inside each one. And this is going to have you actually change some of the coding because you're exploring on how code makes an application run. And that's what you're going to end up doing. Now, in doing so, you'll notice that most of these codes here, because you're in this block mode, will allow you to just kind of point to an option and pull it in. And it'll actually leave it wherever that little white yellow line is. If you don't want it, you can just pull it right out. So that's the easy way to using this block. And so when you're working with this, just drag it in to add something, drag it out if you need to delete it. Now, when you run each app over here, a couple things are going to occur. Number one, either on the left-hand side here, something will appear in the app area, or something will appear down here in the debug console area. Now, in this section, this is where your output's going to occur. So you're going to be playing with the console.log. So there's two areas of interest when you're doing all these now. First is the toolbox. You can see right here, this is the toolbox. And again, we talked about you can drag in your statements from here. There's also a functions one. And what you'll notice is what you see here is very limited. They will only display what you need to use for each section. And then there's also the workspace. Now this is where you can actually click on some text and type in new text. So hi there. Or possibly a number. All right. And basically when you run, and we'll execute this in a second, you will see some output down here in the debug console. Now, when you run this app, a couple things you're going to have to pay attention to. So when you click on run, it is going to go through each one of these statements in order. That is in sequential order. This is called sequential coding. As each statement is executed, you will see a yellow block or rectangle appear around each one of these little statements as it goes along. Each statement, in this case, is going to output something down here on the bottom in the debug console. That's why the statement is called console.log. Now the speed at which it runs is going to be slow, and that's good. But down here, there's a little slider for speed. You can actually go as fast as it can or as slow. And right now you want it on slow because you want to watch how this area gets highlighted as it goes through each statement. Now let me run it. As you can kind of see here as it's going, what's appearing down here, hi there. And you can see at the top, each yellow block that's highlighted, that's the one that gets run. And you can see each one output something to the console log. Perfect. And when it's done running, done. No more yellow blocks. Now, if you need to, because you can run this a few times, you can click on the clear button and that'll empty out the debug console so you can do it again. Now I'm going to run it one more time. I'm going to reset it first, speed it up, and watch how fast it goes in there. Done. So what the whole purpose of slowing it down allows you to watch each line as it is being executed. Now in some of the other lessons, there's a lot more things that'll be going on, so that'll be really beneficial to do that. All right, then about the art interface here that you're using, couple things. Each part of the interface can actually be resized. So you can see over here in the app, there's a little handle. You can drag it over and shrink it down to about this size is the minimum it'll allow you to do it. When you drag it out, it'll maximize itself at a certain size. Likewise, on the top here, you can always hide these sections. You can see the ones with the little arrows, even at the bottom. Or if you choose to shrink it to give more room in a certain area or expand it, you can do so. Likewise, the debug console. You can make it bigger and it maxes out at a certain size, or bring it down to its smallest. A lot of times you want it the smallest size because all you're interested in is just little text output that's going on. All right, now the other thing you can do is this. There is a version history button. So if you click on this, it'll basically show you all the different changes, the date, the time that you want. And if you have to restore one of those versions, you can. If you certainly want to start over, and I'll do that right now since there's nothing major that I changed, I'll hit start over and it allows me, it resets it. So I'm back to where it should be from when you begin. There's also a little manage assets icon right here. It looks like a little gear. If you click on it, you choose manage assets. You're going to get a window that you're going to be very familiarized with. And this allows you to either upload pictures or some audio, or even record audio. So you can do those things from that little gear, as well as when you insert images for certain objects. And last but not least, for those of you who really get caught up with this coding and love it, you can actually get a lot of help from each one of these statements. So if I point to console.log, you get a little bubble that pops up. Gives you a little explanation as to what it actually does. And when you hit see examples, it's going to open up this library that literally lets you see any command that you would be learning eventually, with a nice description and even examples of how it works. And this is what coding programming is all about. You know, even for myself, if I want to know something, I got to do some sort of search that kind of looks up, what does this command do? What does this statement do? And so that's what you're going to be doing in this lesson. You're going to be exploring, you're going to be observing. There are some questions to answer in that Google Doc. So have fun, work together, and let's start exploring.